For more than 100 years, dinosaur movies have dazzled us with their special effects, captured our imagination, and stolen our hearts. They can be at times terrifying, educational, and inspirational. Today we're counting down the greatest films with dinosaurs in a starring role, and we'll be excluding sequels, reboots, and documentaries. This is the Dinosaur Stops Top 10 Dinosaur Movies of All Time. Kicking off our list is our number 10 film, Baby, Secret of the Lost Legend. This family film from the 80s is about a paleontologist and her husband attempting to track down a local monster legend in Central Africa. They find a pair of living brontosaurs and their adorable baby, and everyone wants to get their hands on it, from the military to greedy scientists. The film relies entirely on animatronics to bring the dinosaurs to life. Prior films relied heavily on stop-motion animation, also known as claymation, to bring dinosaurs to life. While the effects don't always look 100% believable, the baby does manage to pull at your heartstrings at times with its big eyes. The film was not received very well, getting generally negative reviews from critics, but it made up for that in home video sales and airing on television. A highlight of the film is its beautiful score by veteran composer Jerry Goldsmith. Goldsmith recalled the experience with such fondness that he insisted it be included on his tribute album in 1993. Our number 9 spot goes to a monster movie from 1970, When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. Like so many other films on our list, this one portrays dinosaurs and humans living alongside one another, something that has never actually occurred on our planet, yet keeps appearing in pop culture. The film centers around an ancient tribe of people that sacrifice blonde women to satisfy the gods. It features many sequences involving dinosaurs and man at battle, including an elasmosaur attack, chasmosaurs charging, an incredible-looking pterosaur attack. Plus, there's a scene depicting the hatching of a megalosaurus, a non-existent species that was created for the film. The special effects are considered a benchmark in stop-motion animation believability, and the film was nominated for an Oscar for visual effects. When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth was the third from the UK film company Hammer and their Cave Girl series, which also includes 1 Million Years BC, another film that appears on our list. For number 8, we're jumping all the way to the year 2000, and the film is Disney's Dinosaur. The story may not be very original, and they do get some of the science wrong at times, but Dinosaur offers incredible visuals and was created using real locations as the background with CG animated characters. The film follows an iguanodon named Aladar and his friends as they set to find a new home after surviving a devastating meteor strike. Along the way, they are pursued by predators such as Carnotaurus. You have to hand it to Disney to go for a new villain in their dinosaur film. Rather than yet another story featuring T-Rex, they opted instead to use the unique Carnotaurus. The film was originally supposed to have no dialogue at all, in part to differentiate the film from The Land Before Time, which shares similar plot points. Dialogue was written in to make the film more commercially viable. The film was also originally going to be much darker in tone, ending with the End Cretaceous extinction event ultimately resulting in the deaths of all the film's characters. While the film doesn't feature cavemen coexisting with dinosaurs as so many others have, it still makes the mistake of featuring some modern-looking lemurs, animals that would not exist in that form for another 20 to 30 million years. Dinosaur was the most expensive film released in 2000, with a budget of $127 million, but was a financial success, grossing $350 million worldwide, and it opened to mainly positive reviews. Long before Disney's Dinosaur, there was Gertie the Dinosaur, way back in 1914. Gertie was the first animated film to feature a dinosaur, and it was created by American cartoonist and animator Winsor McCay. McCay originally used a version of the film as part of his vaudeville act, where he would command Gertie to perform tricks in front of a live audience. Later, McCay added a live-action introductory sequence to the film for its theatrical release. Gertie was McCay's first piece of animation with detailed backgrounds. He drew thousands of frames of Gertie on sheets of rice paper, as it did not absorb ink, and was translucent to help in the laborious retracing of backgrounds frame after frame. Since the background was redrawn for every frame, it was possible to include subtle details such as the ground sagging beneath Gertie's great weight. Gertie was the first film to use the animation technique known as keyframes. A keyframe in animation is a drawing that defines the starting and ending points of any smooth transition between movements. McKay's clean line, high contrast, realistic style set the pattern for American animation to come and set it apart from the abstract, open forms of animation in Europe. The feature films of Walt Disney Animation Studios, for example, have drawn inspiration from Gertie and McKay's revolutionary style. Number 6 is one of the most important dinosaur films ever made. The Lost World from 1925 is a silent film adaptation of the novel by Arthur Conan Doyle. The story centers around Professor Challenger, who is certain dinosaurs still exist today somewhere in the Amazon. He and a team of explorers set out to find this lost world. While they are there, the team encounters dinosaurs and ancient creatures like Pteranodon, Allosaurus, Triceratops, Brachiosaurus, Brontosaurus, Stegosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, and more. The Lost World featured pioneering stop-motion special effects by Willis O'Brien, who would later take what he learned on this project for his work on the original King Kong a few years later. Conan Doyle showed O'Brien's test reel to a meeting of the Society of American Magicians, which included Harry Houdini. The astounded audience watched footage of dinosaurs, and the next day the New York Times ran a front-page article about it, saying that Doyle had discovered monsters of the ancient world, or, if fakes, they were masterpieces. The film concludes by the explorers bringing a brontosaurus back to London to put on display as proof of living dinosaurs. However, while being unloaded from the ship, it escapes and causes havoc in the city, until it attempts to cross the Tower Bridge, which collapses under its weight. The Lost World was the first dinosaur-oriented hit in film history, and it led to other films like King Kong and eventually Jurassic Park. King Kong came out in 1933 and immediately became one of the most iconic films in cinematic history. The story has film director Carl Denham set off with his crew on a ship named Venture. Denham had become famous for making wildlife films in exotic locations, and for his next project he would travel to the most exotic of locales, Skull Island. Skull Island proves to be a dangerous land filled with giant prehistoric creatures, unruly natives, and of course Kong, or as Denham calls him, the eighth wonder of the world. On their journey, the team encounters many dinosaurs, including a Stegosaurus that attempts to charge at them before being killed, a Brontosaurus that capsizes their supplies, and of course a Tyrannosaurus that threatens Anne, the lead actress Denham plucked from the street just moments before their journey began. It is Kong himself that sets out to protect Anne from the dangers of Skull Island, which come in the form of a snake-like elasmosaur, a pteranodon that tries to fly away with her, and of course his famous battle with the T-Rex. Willis O'Brien, hot off the success of The Lost World some years earlier, created the stop-motion effects for King Kong. The iconic fight between Kong and the T-Rex took 7 weeks to complete. The T-Rex was based on murals created by Charles R. Knight that hang in the American Museum of Natural History. O'Brien's protege, Ray Harryhausen, who would later become one of the most prominent stop-motion animators in Hollywood, stated that O'Brien's wife noticed much of her husband in the character of Kong. The actress Fay Wray spent a 22-hour period sitting in a fake tree acting out her observation of the battle, which was projected onto a translucent screen while the camera filmed her witnessing the projected stop-motion footage. While it might not have been the airplanes, but beauty killed the beast in 1933, Kong would go on to survive in spin-offs, sequels, remakes, and even theme park attractions. His is a legacy that will never die, and is often cited as the inspiration for directors to get into filmmaking. Our fourth film is 1 Million Years BC, a 1966 British adventure film starring Raquel Welch. This film portrays dinosaurs and cavemen living in a primordial world. The story focuses on people of different tribes and different cultures trying to survive, and at the heart of it is a love story. The main attraction here are the dinosaurs, brought to life brilliantly by stop-motion animator Ray Harryhausen, who honed his skills working with his mentor Willis O'Brien on films like King Kong. The Allosaurus and some of the other dinosaurs in this film were some of the most convincing stop-motion animated creatures that had ever been created. And to make things more complicated, many of them actually interact with people on set. One such scene involves an actor impaling the creature with a spear. From shot to shot, different techniques are used, including animating the spear and having the actor hold nothing while pretending to stab. Other shots were done on set using forced perspective with miniatures animated in the foreground. Another notable sequence features a pteranodon that picks up a woman and carries her to its nest. Instead of using a large crane on location, the crew had Raquel Welch fall behind a rock, and while she is out of view of the camera, the model pteranodon swoops down and flies off with a model of Welch. Later, the nest was matted into the scene atop a real rock face by double printing the film. The Ceratosaurus and Triceratops models from 1 million years BC were later repurposed for another film, The Valley of Gwangi, in 1969. 1 million years BC was the first in an unconnected series of prehistoric films from the production company Hammer that also includes When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. Next up on our list is The Valley of Gwangi from 1969. This Western fantasy blends the thrill of the Old West with the spectacle of live dinosaurs. The story has a group of cowboys venturing into a place known as Forbidden Valley where they encounter dinosaurs living in the wild. They spot an ornithomimus, which they chase after in hopes of capturing it, but suddenly it's killed by Gwangi, a vicious Tyrannosaurus. Gwangi was originally conceived by Willis O'Brien, who created the special effects for the original King Kong, but he passed away before it could be realized. The plot was inspired by The Lost World. Ray Harryhausen, who worked under O'Brien, ended up creating the creature effects for Gwangi, which would be the last dinosaur-themed film he animated. Close to a year was spent on special effects, with over 300 effects shots in the film, a record for Harryhausen. The roping of Gwangi was the most labor-intensive sequence. It was achieved by having the actors hold onto ropes tied to a stick on the set. Later, Gwangi was placed into frame over the stick. The film's climax has the group take Gwangi back to be put on display in an arena show. Gwangi is set free and begins a rampage that starts with a fight between it and an elephant and eventually leads to running through town. Gwangi is backed into a church which is set on fire, and Gwangi dies in the fire as the town looks on. By the time of the film's release, interest in monster films was waning, and the film was released with little promotional effort. Gwangi missed its target audience and was not as successful as earlier Harryhausen efforts, but its legacy lives on as one of the most entertaining and well-made dinosaur films ever made. Our number 2 is The Land Before Time from 1988. This animated family film was directed by Don Bluth and executive produced by Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. Bluth had previously helmed the highly successful An American Tail with Spielberg 2 years earlier. In the film, a young brontosaurus named Littlefoot is orphaned when his mother is killed by a Tyrannosaurus rex. Littlefoot flees to search for the Great Valley, an area spared from the devastation caused by drought. On his journey, he meets 4 young companions: Sarah, a Triceratops, Ducky, a Saurolophus, Petrie, a Pteranodon, and Spike, a Stegosaurus. As Littlefoot's mother explained to him, the different kinds of dinosaurs, 3-horns, spike-tails, swimmers, and flyers, have historically remained apart. The film attempts to tackle issues of prejudice between different groups by showing that they can work together. Throughout the film, the group is pursued by the murderous Tyrannosaurus rex they call Sharptooth. It isn't until they all work together using their own personal skills that they are able to overcome the monster they fear. The Land Before Time is beautifully animated and genuinely endearing throughout. It's a hand-drawn masterpiece reminiscent of the works of Walt Disney Animation Studios from the 40s or 50s, including the Rite of Spring sequence from Fantasia. Spielberg and Lucas originally wanted the film to have no dialogue, like the sequence in Fantasia, but the idea was abandoned in order to make the film more appealing to children. The original cut of the film was also deemed too scary, so 10 minutes of footage was cut, mainly from the Tyrannosaurus attack sequence. Released in November of 1988, the film was a critical and financial success and spawned a multi-million-dollar franchise with 13 direct-to-video sequels and a television series. Our number 1 film is Jurassic Park. Released in 1993, Jurassic Park was directed by Steven Spielberg and based on the novel by Michael Crichton. Once released, it quickly became the highest-grossing film of all time, a title it held for 4 years. In the film, dinosaurs are brought back from extinction by scientists, a story that puts dinosaurs and humans in the same world together without cavemen or the discovery of a lost land. Our heroes find themselves trying to escape nature itself as we learn about the dangers of playing God. One way Jurassic Park sets itself apart from other dinosaur films is its ability to portray them as actual animals. They're not just killing machines or dumb, lumbering caricatures. They breathe, can be curious, get sick, learn new things, and even sneeze. And it helped us to understand dinosaurs and their relationship with birds. We spent 150 years comparing them to cold-blooded lizards, but this film showed us that they could be fast and smart. We haven't looked at birds the same way since. The film's visual effects changed the industry forever. Stan Winston was brought in to create animatronic dinosaurs. Phil Tippett was hired to create stop-motion dinosaurs for wide shots. They were once again using the same formula to bring dinosaurs to life that Hollywood had been using since 1914. That is, until Dennis Muren at ILM showed Spielberg tests of computer-generated dinosaurs. This was the beginning of a new era. Never again would dinosaurs show up on screen as claymation monsters. Jurassic Park was a huge success, spawning sequels, video games, theme park rides, and a lasting legacy that continues to this day. Most importantly of all, the film inspired a new group of young people to get involved in paleontology and to learn about dinosaurs. What also makes Jurassic Park and the Jurassic franchise special is that it isn't afraid to stand on the shoulders of what had come before it and build upon it. It recognizes the great works of the past. It pays its respects, gives homage.
What do they got in there, King Kong?
Draws inspiration, and creates something entirely new and yet somehow familiar. Whether it's an idea to bring a dinosaur back to show the world that doesn't go as planned, or display dinosaurs in an amphitheater, a fight between massive beasts, or a terrifying encounter with flying reptiles. These are the stories Hollywood has been dreaming up for over 100 years. These are our dreams, our nightmares, our aspirations and inspiration. These are the greatest dinosaur films of all time.